Chapter 1, She Meets Him Again. There was still pattering outside the window. The entire luxurious presidential suite was extremely dark. The atmosphere was strange and unstable, and no one made any sound. Ding Ruoming stared at the man and woman. Her two arms were pulled away from her body, leaving her in an extremely unnatural state. Through the dim wall lamp, she saw the complex expression on the face of the man holding her left wrist, including surprise and confusion, and even a slight smile at the corner of his mouth. However, he was not looking at her. She turned to look at the woman who was holding her right wrist. Her eyes were wide open. She was in extreme shock and had not yet come to her senses. They just looked at each other like this. No one knew what they were thinking. The two seemed to stare at each other closely until the end of time, and no one could come between them. Sister Qing, do you know him? Ding Ruoming took the lead to break the silence, turning her elbows to ask the woman on the right. When Qing came to her senses instantly, "No, I don't know him." Her eyelashes, as long as butterfly wings, fell down, covering up all the emotions in her eyes. There was just a faint yellow halo around her eyelids under the light. "Ah!" Ding Ruoming gasped in pain, clearly feeling a sharp pain in her left wrist. She saw that the handsome face of the man on the left became more and more complicated. The aftertaste of surprise was filled with anger, unwillingness, and even forbearance. She was confused and curious, but she did not dare to say anything. She and Wen Qing were both reporters at the Silk Entertainment magazine, but Wen Qing was promoted by the old editor to a team leader because she was more diligent and careful during the internship, specializing in managing the newbies like them. Today, she was sent to the Haodu Hotel by Sister Qing, specifically to stay in the room of the executive director of WM Group at 11 o'clock in the evening. While the housekeeping staff came and went, she hid in the closet on the side of the room. When she was about to pick up the guide to record the corrupt nightlife of the rich, she was caught off guard and grabbed out like a chicken. She was extremely afraid of the solemn and cold look on the man's face. No! She was timid and fearful and quickly called her immediate superior, Sister Qing, to come and handle the matter. When Qing was applying a facial mask at home and getting ready to go to bed, when she heard that Xia Mengmeng was hiding something that was exposed, she quickly put on her coat, took her wallet keys, stopped a taxi at the door, and rushed to the Haodu Hotel. He slammed the car door, not caring about his hair getting wet, and ran straight up to the 8th floor. Panting, she opened the door and felt a strong sense of uneasiness and panic as soon as she entered the room. She originally thought that no matter who the big shots or powerful people were, as long as they apologized and admitted their mistakes, there would be nothing to embarrass them. Taking a deep breath, she lowered her head and smiled and said softly, "I'm sorry, sir. We're just trying to make ends meet. If there is any offense, please forgive me." It didn't matter whether the other party agreed to her apology or not, so she took Silly Mingming's right wrist and prepared to run away. However, she looked up casually and saw him, the man who often haunted her dreams. The years of polishing made him look more like a mature man. His facial features became more three-dimensional, with sharp edges and corners, and he exuded a steady and elegant temperament between his eyebrows. His limbs are strong, his muscles are firm, his shoulders are obviously wide, his waist is narrow, and his legs are long, enough to satisfy any girl's fantasies. Now his upper body was naked, with a white bath towel loosely wrapped around his waist. His black hair was scattered unruly in front of his forehead, and tiny water droplets were still shining on the ends of his hair, which was particularly sharp and dazzling. Chapter 2, She Meets Him Again. The lean and immature boy in his memory has changed beyond recognition. The man in front of him is like a wolf ready to pounce on his prey at any time. His aura is so powerful that it is suffocating. Looking at his deep and resentful eyes, Wen Qing can't help but tremble in her heart, and her hand holding Meng Meng unintentionally tightens. Wen Qing swallowed hard. "Sir, I'm really sorry. If it doesn't cause you any loss, please let us go." As he said that, he was about to leave. Finally, the man spoke. "I don't want my sex exposed." Since this young lady dares to break into my room without authorization, she is to pay a corresponding price." The mellow and magnetic voice came, but Wenqing was scared and helpless. Watching the man let go of his hand leisurely, seemingly convinced that they did not dare to leave on his own, he took a few steps to sit on the comfortable sofa and casually poured half a glass of Lafite wine, shaking it slowly. The bloodthirsty red was so bright that it stung. "Hey, Sister Qing has already apologized. What else do you want? I was discovered by you before I even started the camera. How could I disclose your privacy? You don't want to slander me." Li Ruoming was so angry that she didn't care about the intimidating aura and atmosphere and walked up to the man to debate. The man spoke slowly. "You guys who work in the news have too many minds. I have to be on guard. I have already called my assistant and leave this matter to the police." As he spoke, he kept staring at the woman at the door. She seemed to be frightened. Her face was pale and her eyes were distracted, and she didn't even hear Meng Meng asking her what to do. The dark eyes turned flexibly, and the smile on the lips was buried in the moment of drinking. He looked at the starry sky. The moon was lonely, and the stars were twinkling. Maybe life would no longer be so boring and hypocritical. He was looking forward to the interesting games in the future. When Ding Ruoming debated, explained, and begged for mercy to no avail, a tall, thin man pushed open the door, bowed, and said, "Mr. Su, the police are here and waiting outside the door. How do you want to handle this matter? Follow the normal procedure and see if these two women have really violated my vagina." He glanced out of the corner of his eye, and the woman remained motionless, standing silently. "Are you frightened like this? There's something wrong with the style of painting. Damn that stinky woman." She hadn't seen him for a long time, didn't say hello, pretended not to know her, and wanted to run away without saying a word, so he grabbed her colleague's left wrist in desperation. However, at the first glance, the woman had lost her youthfulness and immaturity. The original fleshy baby fat had been replaced by a slightly pointed chin and a sharp outline. She seemed to have grown several centimeters taller. She had straight bangs and a long ponytail, and her clothes were still as simple and ordinary as ever. When he saw those familiar and bright eyes reflecting his figure, he could no longer take his attention away. Wenqing and Ding Ruoming were taken downstairs of the hotel, invited into the police car, and entered the police station for the first time in their lives. Listening to Meng Meng's noise in her ears, Wenqing felt panicked, but it was because of the man just now, and she didn't know what this man who could cover the sky with one hand would do to them. It was obvious that she was going to be punished, and her struggle was in vain, so she could only remain silent. Fortunately, the officer on duty in the bureau just asked them to take notes fiercely, checked the other contents of the camera, and made sure that nothing was captured. Then he waved his hand and allowed them to leave the bureau. Chapter 3, she meets him again. In the dark night, the silence is so intoxicating that even the lively chirping of insects can be heard one after another. Wenqing and Ding Ruoming walked out of the police station in a daze and asked abruptly, "Do you know about that man just now?" Ding Ruoming thought of the way he grabbed her wrist and glanced at her coldly, and couldn't help but get a little excited, so he kept chattering. "Sister Qing, that is Su Moran, the chairman of WM Group, one of the most promising groups in our city, Su Moran. He is a dark horse in the business world. He is young and promising, with great ambitions. He began to learn to run a company at the age of 18. He completed related courses in financial management in 2 years. In the next 4 years, he left his family's group, the Su Group, and founded his own company. He became an executive director. He is still among the top 3 gold and diamond bachelors in our city. Many women wanted to have sex with him, but few media broke the news about his affair. Alas, it was discovered this time. Otherwise, if I captured his private life, it would be exclusive news. Also, he should be the living son of the Su family. Before the age of 18, the Su family only had 1 daughter and no young master. Alas, the rich family is so chaotic. "Hey, Sister Qing, Sister Qing." Ding Ruoming shouted to Wenqing, who was walking forward as if in a fugue, running with small steps. "Yes, I had originally said that I had no chance to meet him in this life and didn't want to meet him, but today I was caught off guard and saw him like this, and was deliberately or unintentionally set up by him. It was all her fault that she was too careless. She did not investigate carefully before sending Meng Meng to perform the mission. She thought that there was nothing noteworthy about the rich and powerful, and it would be a trivial matter to just catch a small piece of news. It's all my own fault. I was stupid, careless, and panicked when I saw him. Perhaps the sea has changed, the season has changed, and the beauty in the autumn water will no longer be the same. Just treat tonight as a small episode. Live it as long as you can. Don't think too much, and continue your ordinary life. As Wen Qing walked thinking about it, the shadows of her and Li Ruomeng under the street lights were swaying very long, with a slight feeling of loneliness and desolation. Very good. It takes no effort at all. Su Moran chuckled and played with the business card casually. On it was clearly written Wen Qing, team leader of Silk Entertainment magazine. His assistant, Zhou Qiang, found it for him after seeing the information in the transcript. The slender white fingers tightened gradually until they were completely grasped in his generous hand, and they could not even feel pain when being pinched by the hard edges. There were mixed feelings in his heart, and more resentment and anger surged up, filled with endless sorrow, shouting and shouting silently, flowing along his blood to his limbs, turning into inescapable pain. One day, he will take back with his own hands all the pain that has been inflicted on him. No, thousands of times. Finally, arriving home, Wen Qing skillfully kicked off her shoes, put on slippers, ran water for a bath, put on her pajamas, and climbed into the big bed. She was so groggy that she didn't know how she took a shower, but suddenly she realized that her hair on the pillow was still wet, but her mind was filled with that evil, arrogant face, which suddenly turned into a green and gentle face, like a slide. She felt that her brain no longer belonged to her, and she was obsessed with those two faces, changing back and forth. Although she was clearly awake and rational, she couldn't resist a moment of confusion and panic. She tried to hypnotize herself, and even rolled out of bed and swallowed 2 sleeping pills, but to no avail. With no other choice, she just let her mind change. And in the end, she didn't know whether she was asleep or awake. Chapter for She Meets Him Again. In the dark night, which seemed to swallow no one, under the dim light, the black extended version of Lincoln waited lonely. That dark alley, the heavy rain pouring without warning. Whose cry is it? Whose shout? What was in the overturned box? Darkness, heavy rain, crying, helplessness, and determination. No! No! Opening his eyes in an instant, Su Moran was shocked to realize that this was a dream. The familiar silk quilt and big bed, luxurious chandeliers and murals made him feel safe. In an instant, like a deflated rubber ball, the man leaned feebly on the valuable bedside, staring at a certain point motionlessly with his head lowered, looking so lonely and fragile. The messy hair and tired expression tell the master's loneliness and coldness, but they do not affect his evil and wild beauty at all. The dense layer of sweat on his forehead tells the panic in the nightmare. He just sat there, motionless for a while, like a statue of a meditator. Finally, he rolled his eyes a few times, got out of bed, and took out something from the closet. It was a puppy pillow with golden hair. Everyone would be surprised how a hard-blooded man could have such a cute stuffed toy. He didn't use it as a pillow, but just held it gently, as if he was afraid of getting it wrinkled and damaged, so he held it in his arms cautiously. After that incident, this was a scene that often appeared in his dreams. He had not dreamed about it for several months. Unexpectedly, he saw the woman again, and it appeared in his dream again that night. The ghost is lingering. I really underestimated the charm of that woman. She came to my door obediently. If that's the case, then he won't care about anything anymore. The night was still long, and the stars didn't know what to say, so the moon shyly faded away its brilliance and hid in the clouds. This night, one person is destined to have insomnia. Ding Ruomeng hid under the quilt, tossing and turning, but she didn't feel sleepy at all, and finally sat up. She touched her left wrist that he had pulled, and it seemed to be still hot there. Her heart was beating uncontrollably, but it was already joining hands with the night wind and drifting towards someone's window. We agreed not to think or read, but with its own attachment, my heart silently waited for the changes beyond recognition. Wenqing was really complaining. One night, her head was in confusion. She wanted to sleep, but couldn't fall asleep. She wanted to wake up, but was confused. Finally, it was dawn. She was dressing and brushing her teeth with sleepy eyes. Just when she was about to sit at the dining table and have breakfast, she received a call from her old editor. Wenqing, do you still want to be involved in the literary and art world? What happened to your minions when they were caught? Are you stupid and can't solve the problem? You were taken to the police station. What about those emergency measures I taught you? Raise an army for 1,000 days and use it for a while. You're just wasting food. Hurry up and come to the magazine office. Then he directly put down the phone. Hearing the furious lion's roar, Wenqing calmly opened the receiver and listened quietly to the old editor's manic BB without saying a word. Finally, after hearing the last sentence, she picked up a fried dough stick from the plate and ran downstairs with her bag. The Emma electric car drove smoothly all the way. After Wenqing parked the car at the door, she hurriedly walked to the old editor's office. Just as she walked to the glass office door, "Do you still have the nerve to come?" A hard splint leaped over. Wenqing reflexively blocked her head with her arms. The splint fell on her forearm and fell to the ground weakly. Wenqing escaped. Chapter 5, she meets him again. Why am I so shameless? Didn't you ask me to come? I also wash my face in the morning. Wenqing cursed secretly, lowering her head and looking at the hard splint, thinking that if she hadn't been quick to respond, her head might have burst into flames. The senior editor of Silk Entertainment is Ellie. She likes to appear in front of people wearing heavy makeup and has a short temper. If anyone in the magazine is careless and makes a mistake, she will give her a scolding. The little girl with thin skin and strong self-esteem was often scolded by her until she burst into tears. But Wenqing knew that she was a warm-hearted and impatient person, so she didn't care so much about her. They even became good friends in private and sometimes went shopping and had dinner together. However, this was of no use. Ailey launched a fire, which was more powerful than the bombardment of 3 cannons. This was Ding Ruoming's conclusion drawn from practice. Be serious. I'm criticizing you. Stand up straight. Wenqing suppressed her laughter and adopted a standard military posture. You're a smart girl. Why are you confused at the critical moment? Who is Su Moran, the sovereign of the MW Group? You actually asked Ding Ruoming to secretly photograph him. Are you looking for death? Silly Meng Meng, don't you know everything? Why don't you report it yourself? Sister AI poked Wenqing's head with her index finger, looking like she hated iron. Also, I was discovered as soon as I was discovered. What a big deal. As for going to the police station, you left my old face in the police car. Can't you say soft words? Can't make excuses? I'm really pissed off. I'm getting more and more worried every day. Wenqing hurriedly handed her a cup of tea and told the boss exactly what happened last night, emphasizing that the enemy was too strong and our side was too weak, so we were killed in an instant. And he repeatedly swore that he would work hard to practice his communication skills, and this situation would never happen again. He stood in front of the old editor's desk in confusion again, listened to her teachings for more than an hour, and finally walked out with empty steps. Ding Ruoming, who was listening in the corner, saw Wenqing coming out and hurriedly stepped forward. Sister Qing, how are you? I didn't show off my power. I think you can still come out intact. You did show off your power, but don't worry, I will remove it. Apart from saying that you are silly and cute, everything else is fine. Wenqing waved her hand to comfort Ding Ruoming and saw her pouting her lower lip and squinting her eyes as if she was crying. Oh, now she is really silly and cute. Wenqing and Ding Ruoming are in the same class. They are both seniors at X University, majoring in editing and publishing. They thought about doing internships before graduation, so they fell under AI Lee's skirt enduring the bombardment of hot temper every day. No, after writing my graduation thesis, I dedicated the remaining half semester to my internship. It was going smoothly, but I have only been working for more than a month, and last night I met someone I couldn't see. I was unlucky enough to go to the police station last night. I was unlucky enough to be punished this morning. I didn't sleep well, and my brain was dizzy. It was really unlucky that my mother opened the door for me. I was so unlucky. Forget it. Let all the past drift away with the wind. It is true to seize the freshness of the present and look forward to the beauty of the future. Maybe it's been a long time since he's been gone, so he's so frightened and at a loss. But as the executive director of MW, with power, money, and sex, this kind of God's darling should be very happy living a life of an upper-class person. That's fine. What are you still worrying about? Unlike her, even though her family is not as poor as before, she still wants to work hard in society and carve out her own future. Because she has dreams but no capital, she needs to practice her wings more, not to degenerate, and to fly hard. Chapter 6 Omen of Doom. Wenqing felt a lot more relaxed when she thought about this. Slowly, the haze and sadness in her heart also dissipated a lot. She is responsible for the choices she makes, but she will never regret the best times she had. The two fishes who have agreed to forget each other may meet one day at a certain place under the water. They just blow bubbles at each other, say hello, and then drag their tails forward, never to meet again. Two intersecting straight lines are happy and sad. They once intersected intimately at one point and then parted ways, never to see each other again. Should I be glad that we were intimate before? Or should we lament that we are now strangers? No one can give the answer. Everyone has to follow their own path. Different life circles and friend circles cause two people who were originally close to drift apart. You can't blend in with me, and I can't blend in with you. There's no way to look back. In this case, bring the most sincere blessings from the past and become a beacon that illuminates the other person's path forward. After relaxing her depressed mood, Wenqing's tiredness swept over her. She hurriedly asked for leave from Ollie and got on the little pink car to go home to catch up on her sleep. Along the way, my upper and lower eyelids were fighting, and I always unconsciously rode on the main road and was instantly awakened by a noisy horn. In this way, the originally 15-minute electric ride took her half an hour. Wenqing entered the house, changed her shoes, and took off her clothes in one go. Wenqing was ready to make up for all the sleep she didn't get last night. After a few minutes, there was only the sound of shallow breathing in the air. The sunlight shines through the clean and bright glass windows, scattering clouds of refracted colors. Her face is as quiet and beautiful as an angel, and she occasionally smacks her lips, as if she has dreamed of something sweet and fragrant. There were odds and ends neatly placed on the small bedside table, including a large bottle of countless stars that she had folded with her own hands. There was also a cup within reach, with half a cup of honey water in it. Keys and wallet were placed nearby. There was only a low table lamp on the bedside table on the other side, like a big pink mushroom. Opposite the bed is a cloth wardrobe, with all kinds of her clothes hanging in it. Looking around, this small home is really simple, but because of the bright yellow wallpaper, it has become warm and lovely. There is a blue wind chime on the wall above the bed, which looks so abrupt and out of place in the bright yellow atmosphere. The wind chime is composed of blue glass made of moons and hearts. From a distance, it looks like drops of a lover's tears. It seems that you can hear the crisp and sad sound when the wind blows. Dingling bell, the simple and rough ringtone cut through the quiet dreamland, sharp and urgent. Wenqing rubbed her eyes, touched the cell phone beside her pillow, connected it, and said confusedly, "If there is no emergency, I will kill someone." I don't know what was said on the other end of the phone. Wenqing's eyes gradually became clear, and she sat up directly. "What? How could it be? Where is it? Wait for me. I'll be here soon." After hanging up the phone, she hurriedly got dressed and went out, rushing to the inpatient department of Jinghua Hospital. Sitting in the taxi, she was anxious and worried. All she could think about was the phone call from her mother just now, saying that her father had a recurrence of heart disease and was being sent to Jinghua Hospital for treatment. Watching the red light turn on and the numbers slowly counting down, Wenqing was so anxious that she wanted to put on her wings and fly over. She was so anxious that she didn't know what to do, so she just kept urging, "Master, hurry up. Hurry up." Chapter 7 Omen of Doom. Wenqing's family originally came from the countryside. When the elderly in the family died one after another, Wen Chutian sold his house and moved to Ak City with his wife and children to work. He gave up the farming life in the countryside. In order to support his family, he dragged Wenqing and her brother Honyuan together, so he and his wife worked in the factory from dawn to dusk. No matter how hard and tired they were, seeing the innocence and happiness of their children made it worth it. Therefore, Wenqing and Honyuan also studied and lived in the suburbs of Ak City. Wen Chutian's family lived a down-to-earth and diligent life, and their life was not tight. However, for the future life of his daughter and son, Wen Chutian gritted his teeth and took on more tasks, such as unloading cars, decorating, moving, and other heavy-duty tasks. Gradually, as time passed and he worked hard every day doing other jobs besides the processing plant, he finally fell ill. His face would always turn red, and he would be out of breath when he exerted himself. He is less than 40 years old, with a stooped back and white hair, like an old man who has experienced the bitterness of life. Wenqing would sometimes deliver meals to her father in person. She had seen him carrying cement ash and sand on a construction site one by one on a pole, gritting his teeth and working hard, with veins bulging on his forehead and arms. When he went to decorate, he choked on the pungent paint and sneezed continuously. He turned around and smiled and told his daughter that it was okay. Looking at the colorful paint on his face, her nose was sour and she couldn't laugh at all. From then on, Wenqing was no longer so willful, and she also restrained her spending and consumption, and bit by bit she taught her younger brother what the correct concept of consumption is. Even she no longer clamored to buy new clothes. She was a teenager, the age when girls love beauty. There were many migrant households in the suburbs. Aunts and sisters with whom she had good relationships would give her unwanted clothes. She did not dislike them and accepted them all happily. Therefore, her wardrobe is full of styles, including conservative turtlenecks, unrestrained halter tops, long leg bell-bottoms, and sexy hot pants. While she was studying, she just picked a few things to wear that she liked, and she didn't have to be particular about them. In middle school, when other girls were chasing celebrities or shopping, she didn't want to go and didn't have the money to go. No matter what others talk about, she doesn't care. When she has free time, she goes to the library to read books. She feels that spiritual height is wealth. She is very sensible and does not worry her parents. She even manages her younger brother's study and life. This is how he got through middle school. I don't know what day it was, but when Chutian had a sum of money and decided to do something big. He found that no matter how hard he worked to make money, it was only a few thousand yuan a month. Adding in the little salary his mother earned from working in a restaurant, it was less than 5,000 yuan. But Wenqing was about to go to college, so he demanded it. When Honyuan was going to a high school in the city and had to board, and he had to take care of it. If we continue to make money in such a boring way, what will the children do? It was luck. One day, when Chutian and a few workers were decorating a family in a residential area. The owner was very warm and friendly and provided them with lunch. While chatting leisurely, he mentioned that his son took him to live in the city due to physical reasons. He actually opened a clothing processing factory in the suburbs of City A. Although the designer was not famous, the clothes were of good style and quality, and they were more than enough to be sold in ordinary stores. However, City A is far away from City X, so his son brought him here to let him live his old life in peace and asked him to quickly sell the processing factory. Chapter 8 Omen of Doom. When Chutian's heart trembled, and he became a little ambitious. He wanted to give it a real try, so he discussed with the other two people whether to form a partnership. The two were also migrant workers, and they were willing but not courageous. However, under Wen Chutian's sincere persuasion, they said that it was expensive for their children to go to school, that their parents were old and sick, and that prices were soaring and pork was becoming more expensive, BB.